Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 mod review, and today we're checking out a very special mod known as the lore-friendly 556 collection by J.K. Ruse 05. Now this mod is going to add 3 classic Fallout weapons into Fallout 4, 2 of which we've never even seen versions of in any mod, which is very exciting. This mod is going to include the XR92, which technically hasn't been seen ever in Fallout 4, though you'll notice that it's very similar to the R91 assault rifle from Fallout 3. We also have the Fallout New Vegas light machine gun, which will be included in this mod as well. And then finally, the Van Buren auto-loading 556 pistol. So each of these weapons will be chambered in 556, though there are some funny rechambers that you can find hidden throughout the mod as well. Now, all of these weapons were intended to be one singular mod pack, and you can download it as such, but JK Ruse has also added the option to be able to download these weapons separately. So if you like one of these and it shines out a little bit more than the rest, or you're just really trying to save that load order space, keep in mind that you can download all of these separately as individual mod releases, which is really nice for customization for the user. So props to J. Cruz for that one. Now, despite the fact that you're getting 3 entire weapon mods, there is no skimping on quality or quantity here. There is a ton of stuff to cover in this mod, so this may be a bit longer of a video than normal. In fact, I'll be covering each of these weapons separately in this video so they each have their own nice little spotlight. But really quick, as an overview for all of these, they will all have leveled list integration and they will spawn in areas that do make sense. They each have a ton of customization over at the weapons workbench, including things like crazy laser sights and even some pretty interesting elemental muzzle devices, which we'll get into in a little bit later. There's even custom animations for the LMG, though the XR92 and the Autoloader do use vanilla animations, but they look just fine. And then finally, there are even unique variations of each of these weapons that you can go and hunt down. We'll talk about locations later on in the video. As far as lore-friendly mods go, you're getting a whole lot of bang for your buck with this mod. If you want to download all 3 of these in the all-in-one pack, it is going to be a whopping 400 or so megabytes, but that's not too bad for 3 entire weapons with a ton of customization options. Without further ado though, let's go ahead and check out each of these mods individually on their own so that we can talk about their stats, features, and all of the really cool stuff that makes each of these weapons unique. So first of all, what I think a lot of you are here to see, here we have the prototype R92, but this is not at all the basic version as it comes by default in this mod. This is actually a highly customized version to try to get it to look just like the R91 from Fallout 3. If you want to see what this weapon looks like when you first pick it up, well, it's actually going to look a little bit more like this. This is what's known in the game as the Reserve Carbine, which is going to be the finalized version of the XR92. As you can see, this thing has a base damage of 30 and semi-automatic, uses 5.56 rounds, has a fire rate of 55, a range of 155, an accuracy of 72, a weight of 6.6 pounds, and a value of 146 caps. And the lore behind this one is that the XR92, known as the Reserve Carbine in-game, is essentially a more modified and advanced version of the R91 from Fallout 3, but there are some versions that you can find that look a whole lot more like the R91. The Reserve Carbine is actually always going to have this nice green receiver, and there's a lot of furniture you can pair with it that looks really cool. But there is a unique version of the weapon known as the prototype R92, which we can see here. And whenever you pick it up, it has furniture very similar to that of a PSG-1, but you can modify the heck out of this thing and throw on different parts to give it that nice R91 look. Throwing on the wooden foregrip and stock, it looks really cool. But I also do like the PSG-1 parts, so that's pretty neat. The XR92, the one in the previous slide with the green furniture, does not have access to these cool rifle parts like the PSG-1 stock and foregrip. That's going to be limited just to the prototype R92. But if you thought we were done there, there's even another unique version of this weapon that you can find, known as the prototype SMG, which is going to have an even darker receiver, and it's not going to be chambered in 5.56 at all, but rather 10mm, making essentially a lore-friendly MP5. And what's really cool is the suppressor on this thing does have that nice SD style foregrip, and I like this thing a lot. A really cool lore-friendly take on the MP5 style. Super neat. When it comes to actually getting your hands on any of these XR92 variants, The reserve rifle is actually going to spawn out in the Commonwealth on the level list, primarily on gunners, though you may be able to find it in different loot chests and possibly even raider bosses. But if you want to get your hands on the prototype XR92 or that prototype SMG, they are actually unique versions that will have to be found in very specific locations. So spoiler warning, if you want to get your hands on that prototype SMG, you'll have to head over to the Hallucinogen lab. And if you want to get your hands on the prototype XR92, you'll have to head over inside Fort Strong. I have to say, while some people may not agree with this, I absolutely love the idea of turning the classic R91 into a new prototype rifle with several different variants, giving you the ability to get that classic R91 while still also providing a brand new weapon for us to enjoy rather than a rehash that has already been done several times before. So really huge props to J. Cruz for the ingenuity here. Really, really awesome stuff. But with that, let's go ahead and move on to the light machine gun. And here we have it, the New Vegas styled light machine gun, which looks absolutely incredible. If you may remember, we actually did a small little preview of this weapon before, but it is now complete with a bunch of new attachments and features that make this thing really stand out from other LMG mods. This thing has a base damage of 23, is always in fully automatic, uses 5.56 rounds of course, has a range of 191, a fire rate of 113, an accuracy of 70, a weight of 16.1 pounds, and a value of 357 caps. And I absolutely adore this thing. Of course, you can have this thing set up in its classic style with all of the classic furniture, but this is actually not how it comes by default. If you're lucky enough to actually find these things out in the world, it will come with a bunch of junk parts, as you will find it in the hands of different raiders and settlers. So that's why it's going to have some pretty scuffed furniture, but it's still really cool. Additionally, it's going to have a standard AR mag instead of that nice box magazine. So this thing reminds me a lot of like a stoner LMG, which is pretty cool. But this thing even has a unique variant that makes it even cooler. And that is, of course, going to be the Bozar. That's right. If you didn't think you were getting enough weapons already, the Bozar is included in this pack as a nice furniture upgrade to the LMG, and it looks incredible. I really like this thing. The animations fit perfectly, and altogether, this is just a super nice model. Really cool stuff. If you want to get your hands on the Bozar, another quick little spoiler warning, you'll be able to find this thing in a Minutemen Tower east of Somerville Place, so keep your eye out for that thing. When it comes to getting the regular version of the light machine gun, however, it can spawn a lot of places, pretty much anywhere that you can find an automatic version of the pipe rifle, which is basically everywhere. However, it won't start spawning in the game until after level 25, but when it does spawn, again, it spawns everywhere. Gunners, super mutants, DC guards, raiders, minutemen, pretty much anywhere. Super cool. Finally, though, we need to talk about that Van Buren auto-loading pistol, so let's go ahead and head over to check that out. And here we have it, the standard 5.56 autoloader, known as the 223 autoloader in Van Buren, but it's basically the same round. It has a base damage of 34, it uses 5.56 of course, a fire rate of 33, a range of 119, an accuracy of 62, a weight of 3.4 pounds, and a value of 59 caps. This thing does have a pretty high damage compared to other pistols in the game, but it is using 5.56 as its ammo type, a rifle round for this pistol, and while that may seem a bit absurd to fit 5.56 in this pistol grip, this thing is actually really big. When you compare it to your player, this is a huge pistol, kind of like the vanilla 10mm. This is actually how you find the weapon stock, however you can modify it to look a bit more like some of the classic Van Buren concepts. Here we have a version of the autoloader that I have customized a lot, and as you can see there are some pretty cool classic parts like that laser sight that was featured on some of the Van Buren weapons with the classic yellow and black stripes. I really like this thing a lot. I wasn't sure about the pistol at first, but now that I've actually gotten my hands on it, this gun is super cool. And this is a functional laser sight. If you've seen footage of my laser sights from like the handmade lever action shotgun or the Frommer stop, this weapon is completely functional. And as a matter of fact, J. Cruz has credited me for that, even though it was a pretty simple concept, but I still do appreciate that recognition. There is, however, one more version of the autoloader, which is the unique version of this weapon known as the custom autoloader, which does have its own very unique design compared to the other ones. It doesn't have that little divot here. It's actually very boxy, but I do like this design a lot. Has a nice little red stripe there, and this one is chambered in 5mm instead of 5.56, though it is going to take a hit to its damage because of that. This one, if you want to get your hands on it, again, it is another unique, so spoiler warning if you don't want to know, the unique can be found over at the Adam Cat's garage, hence why it has that really neat paint job. As for the regular versions of the autoloader, though, it is added to the leveled list, of course, though it is very rare. You'll find it pretty much anywhere that you would find a 44 revolver, or potentially you may even find it on Brotherhood of Steel scribes. So a new ballistic weapon for the Brotherhood of Steel, which is pretty neat since they don't have any in the base game. Alright, now that we've gotten the details for every single weapon, let's briefly run through the attachments of each of these weapons, as there are a lot of really cool ones that we haven't even covered yet, and it is worth sticking through it because there's some really unique stuff going on here. Let's start with the Reserve Carbine. I do want to mention one more time that this thing will always be green, but if you get that prototype version, you can customize it to look like an R91. But as for the regular old Reserve Carbine itself, it has your standard allotment of receivers, standard up through advanced, including some different automatic receiver options. For barrels, we have the light barrel, short barrel, and long barrel. For stocks, we have the junk stock, the light stock, the marksman stock, and the recoil compensating stock, which is that classic R91 furniture. We have the magazines standard, medium, and large. For sights, we have the standard iron sights, glow sights, the dot sight, reflex sight, the laser sight, which again is fully functional and it looks really cool, the Holocyte, the combat sight, which is actually a little scope that I made, not to take too much credit. It wasn't very hard to make, but it is still there, which makes me happy. And then a short scope, medium scope, and long scope, as well as a night vision short scope, medium scope, and long scope, and of course a short recon scope, medium recon scope, and long recon scope. For muzzles, we have the option for no muzzle, of course, a short bayonet, the compensator, muzzle brake, suppressor, and then the ignition muzzle, which is going to add incendiary damage to this weapon, and it looks super cool. Look at the little fuel tank. I like this one a lot. With that though, let's go ahead and move on to the next weapon. Let's do the autoloader. Here we have again your standard through advanced receivers. This thing is only semi-automatic. For barrels, we have short, medium, and long. For grips, we have the standard grip, comfort grip, and sharpshooter's grip. For magazines, we have standard, large, quick eject, and large quick eject. For sights, we have the same sights that you saw before with standard, dot, reflex, laser, hollow, combat, and scope. And then, of course, a recon scope. Since it is a pistol, it doesn't have as much scope variety. And then finally, for muzzles, we have the option for no muzzle, a blade, a compensator, a suppressor, and the electric muzzle device. So the last weapon got the incendiary. This one is going to get electric damage, which is pretty neat. And then finally, let's take a look at that light machine gun. We have receivers standard through advanced, this time only in fully automatic. We have barrels short and long. We have the junk stock, light stock, marksman stock, and recoil compensating stock. And then, of course, the Bozar stock if you're using the Bozar variant. We have the 30 round mag, 50 round mag, 90 round drum, and the 200 round drum, which is pretty much the only option for this weapon. For sights, we have the standard sights, glow sights, dot sight, reflex, laser, hollow sight, combat sight, short scope, medium scope, long scope, the short night vision, medium night vision, and long night vision, and of course the short recon, medium recon, and long recon. For muzzles, we have the standard no muzzle, bayonet, the standard muzzle brake, improved muzzle brake, and the gamma muzzle. So we have incendiary on the first weapon, electric on the second, and now gamma for the LMG, and that looks absolutely incredible. Nice weapon if you're role-playing as Children of Adam. And then finally, we do actually have a bipod section where you can choose to have no bipod, the bipod raised up, and the bipod let down. Pretty cool stuff. Now then, it is of course time for our damage test, and it would be a sin not to test out these weapons, but really quick, I can tell you that the weapons are very, very well balanced, and were based off of the damages of their vanilla counterparts. So because of that, and because the video is starting to run a bit long, we're not going to test out the regular versions of the weapons with no attachments. Instead, we're going to skip straight to the heavily modified versions just to see how they perform in the end game. So for starters, let's check out that XR92 prototype with maxed out automatic damage and the incendiary barrel. And not too bad. We take down that Deathclaw in about 27 shots, which is pretty decent. Now then, let's try out the Autoloader Pistol with a 24 round magazine, maxed out damage, and our cool little laser sight here, aiming for the Deathclaw's weak point. I do really like that electric effect. That looks cool. And a couple more should do it. Nice. 24 round magazine, that gives us 11 shots to kill. Pretty nice for a pistol. Let's see how we do with the LMG with that gamma barrel. And it absolutely shreds through the Deathclaw. And keep in mind, all of these were tested with no perks, so this is just how the weapon will perform with some of the best attachments available to them. Pretty nice. These are definitely going to fare pretty well, especially this LMG, though you will be finding it a bit later than the other ones. But yeah, guys, I think that covers just about everything in the lore-friendly 5.56 collection. There is a lot of stuff in this mod, but again, you can download these weapons individually if that is your preference as well. Regardless, excellent work by jcruz05. I've been watching these weapons develop over on Discord, and man, I've been so excited for these, and I'm so happy that we finally have them. This is obviously a permanent spot in my load order. This will be with me for pretty much all of my modding days. With that though, if you want to try this mod out for yourself, it'll be linked down in the description below as always. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating. Consider subscribing if you haven't already for more videos just like this. We do lots of Fallout modding content and more Fallout content coming very, very soon. Big shout out as always to all of my patrons for supporting every single video, and a special thank you to Astro, Captain Chaos, Helljumper2077, Indecisive Wolf, Jackie Noid, Moonlit Gamer, Feed, and Youth RC for signing up for that Tier 3 Patreon membership. You guys are super generous. If you want to check out Patreon, it will be linked down in the description below, but it is completely optional. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace!